Good evening, everyone. It is day number 2 of my 90-day public speaking challenge. Wow. It's been an incredible weekend so far, so let me tell you all about it. Friday night, Saturday morning, Kory, we need you to come in and judge for a Toastmasters event. The pressure was on, but I had to tell the truth. There was a previous commitment, and that commitment was to my sons, Kyle and Zachary, to take them to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I haven't always been the best at maintaining promises, but this is one that I really wanted to make. So first, let me give a shout out to Dan Lucen at the Midwest Gaming Classic. Just a second here. This is the official promotional bag. Oops. There we go. Greetings from Milwaukee and Midwest Gaming Classic, established in 2001. That is from one of my friends, Dan Lucen. And Dan put on a heck of a show. So again, instead of doing something that I had put ahead of my children for a number of years, I decided to indulge them and take them up to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee. Kyle and Zachary were a little apprehensive because they weren't sure what they were going to walk into. But we were at Milwaukee, Wisconsin Center, and after we parked, crossed under the concourse and went up the stairs, wow, they were in heaven. First, we saw a line to get our tickets and passes validated, and once we did that, our wristbands were put on. And that was the feeling of belonging, because now they had passes where they could go anywhere they wanted to. And since they're 18, they had a little bit more freedom, and they were hanging out with their old man. My goodness, they had a lot of extra freedom. So once we turned away from the ticketing area, we saw a line for video gaming. So let me tell you briefly about the Midwest Gaming Classic. It is a place where the GOAT store, that's Dan's online business, is there. GOAT, games of all types. Once he'd done that, so Dan and his partner Gary have been buying and selling used video games for years. And I met them way back at the turn of the century. Let me say, back in the turn of the century. And they bought games from me when I managed GameStop. And I told them, this is something that you can do because you already have a passion for it. And while it may not work for a GameStop, you can still do whatever it is that you want to do. And they had product knowledge that I couldn't even fathom. They could tell me about systems that I'd never heard of. They told me of what they wanted to do. So around 2001, they began the Midwest Gaming Classic, and it has grown into this gigantic 3-day event. Let me tell you what was there. There was pinball. There were video games, arcade consoles, like you might have seen it in Aladdin's Castle. And those were all set up for free play, which was fantastic. But then they also had consoles, home consoles from way back. Ones that I'd never heard of. Ones prior to Pong, ones prior to and equal to the Atari systems, and everything in between. Those were also set up for free play as well. Now, Kyle and Zachary were over the moon at this because they could start at the very beginning of video gaming history and play their way up until the current consoles of the PlayStation 4, the Switch from Nintendo and the Xbox One. And they did. And the more they played, the more relaxed they were. They didn't have to be on the edge of graduating from high school and making those college decisions. They could still be two playful, precocious boys who were hanging out because their dad brought them video games. Now, that's not the most important part. But the most important part was the fact that I got to hang out with my sons and see them playing. And there's nothing more rewarding, and there's nothing more pleasing to me, at least, to see my children in a state of play. And that brought me to the idea of family and the family support that we give to our children, that we give to ourselves. And I wonder, as I have spoken with Dan a few times in the past, most recently, I'm blessed to know him, and I see the amazing support that his family has given to him to pursue his goals and dreams. Another part of the Midwest Gaming Classic was seeing Midwestern game developers chasing their own dreams. And wow, there's a lot of incredible brain power in these rooms. And some of you may think of video gaming as greasy kid stuff, and I would tell you that there's a whole lot more to gaming than just some folks in a smoky arcade thinking, oh my gosh, they're wasting quarters. There's a ton of coding that goes into it. There's storytelling that goes into it. There's design and concept people that make this work. And as you believe in yourself, you move it from lines of code to a cohesive story. And through that cohesive story, you incorporate graphics. And then all of a sudden, your story is immersive. I'd like to shout out the guys doing the game Salvo, because that looked amazing. When my sons and I walked into the games and development room, that was the first thing that caught my eye. It's the idea that you're out in space and you have a mothership that drops you off on an asteroid, and you have to mine the asteroid in order to progress through the games. But the graphics were phenomenal. And it sounds to me like there's a great story coming out of that particular company. Now, those guys are here in the Midwest, and I would say to you, support them because it's Midwest, and also support them because they're chasing their own dreams. Oh yes, back to family. I had about 8 hours hanging out with the boys in the Midwest Gaming Classic. And several times throughout that, I looked at my phone to see whether my other 3 children would respond to my messages. Because maybe, just maybe, all 5 of my children and I will go next year. Because this would be fun. Kyle and Zachary, who are excellent at Super Smash Brothers, of all incarnations, that's a Nintendo conversation, got a chance to play against each other and play against some competition. And perhaps next year, those 2 will be competing in a tournament, in a bracket, and I can gloat and say, I know those 2. But it all would have happened, it all would not have happened if I had said, I'm sorry, this other commitment is more important than my children. And it's not. And I will strive to do better to make sure that the things that are important to me get weighted appropriately relative to my children. I look forward to hearing from you, and maybe this second episode of the 90-Day Challenge has been valuable to you. Take care. I'm signing off.